Binaural beats for healing, for feeling better. Do you know what those are and how they work? I want to talk about that in this video. I was having a conversation with somebody about this the other day because this is another one of those rabbit holes I've been down. I've got an entire alpha, beta, theta, delta brainwave nature suite from many years ago. So this is another one I've explored quite deeply. And it was very effective for me. And somebody said, would you please do a video on that? So yeah, okay. My name is Dan Paulson. It's not just use it. Yeah, they feel good, but why? What makes them work? How does this brainwave sort of thing work? So in a nutshell, what's happening is that the brain is emitting frequency all the time. It's operating at different levels based on your level of consciousness and your kind of general emotional state. There's a number of factors. I'm going to pull up an article and we're going to read it, a proper medical article. But the idea is that at certain times that we're feeling good, the brain is functioning a certain way. And that what we're trying to do is introduce that pulsation into the brain so that the brain tries to maybe sort of match that and try to feel good. And there are a lot of good reports. It seems to be effective, whether it is the frequency itself or the attention of the person, doesn't matter. But there's something very viable here. This is not like meditating on clearing out your pineal gland. This is something that is actually real. So let's talk about what is happening first. And to make sure I cover that. I know people that think their pineal gland is cleared because they feel better. That's not your pineal gland. That's something different. You just think it's your pineal gland. In this case, there's actually medical research that shows the brain wave. And I mean, we can put EEGs on there and measure this. So we're working with something tangible and viable here and observable. All right. What I've done is I've gone to Mental Health Daily to get this information here. And what I'm going to do, though, is instead of interacting with it on the browser here, I'm going to copy and paste it and read it from there. There's too many ads and things popping up on the site. It's going to be a mess for us. But okay, let's read about the different brainwave states that we're looking for. The gamma, beta, alpha, theta, and delta. Let's see what's critical and why. Okay, I will post a link to this below. Why don't I just go ahead and read it for now? You can find this all over. It is a very common thing. I'll also post a link to a site where you can go and you can plug in and just create your own tone the way you want it, which is incredibly cool. And it's free. You just hook your phone and headphones and bingo, you're in there. Oh, okay, so let me take a look here. Get back to the top of the page. 5 types of brainwave frequencies: gamma, beta, alpha, theta, delta. It is important to know that all humans display 5 different types of electrical brain patterns, or brain waves, across the cortex. The brain waves can be observed with an EEG, or an electroencephalograph, a tool that allows researchers to note brain wave patterns. Each brain wave has a purpose and helps serve us in optimal mental functioning. Our brain's ability to become flexible and or transition through various brainwave frequencies plays a large role in how successful we are at managing stress, focusing on tasks, and getting a good night's sleep. If one of the 5 types of brainwaves is either overproduced and or underproduced in our brains, it can cause problems. For this reason, it is important to understand that there is no single brainwave that is better or more optimal than the others. Each serves a purpose to help us cope with various situations, whether it's to help us process and learn new information or help us calm down after a long, stressful day. The 5 brain waves in order of highest frequency to lowest are as follows: gamma, beta, alpha, theta, and delta. Before I get into specifics, it is important to realize that when I refer to a certain brainwave, I am implying that a particular brainwave is dominant throughout the day in your waking state. Your EEG will display all 5 types of brainwaves at the same time. However, one particular brainwave will be dominant depending on the state of consciousness that you're in. For example, if you are awake but have really bad ADHD, you may have more slow wave alpha and or theta activity than beta waves. During sleep, usually there are combinations of the slower frequencies, but even gamma has been found to be involved in rapid eye movement, REM. Below is a brief description of each brainwave state, but a more in-depth understanding can be derived from the book Getting Started with Neurofeedback. Okay, we'll just go over this very quickly. Gamma waves, these are involved in higher processing tasks as well as cognitive functioning. Gamma waves are important for learning, memory, and information processing. It is thought that the 40 Hz gamma wave is important for the binding of our senses in regards to perception and are involved in learning new material. It has been found that individuals who are mentally challenged and have learning disabilities tend to have lower gamma activity than average. The frequencies is 40 Hertz to 100 Hertz. Now what that means is how many times per second, how many cycles per second it's going. The frequency, the higher the frequency, the more it goes whoop, and the slower, ooh, it goes down like that. Okay, too much, anxiety, high arousal, stress. Too little, ADHD, depression, learning disability. Optimal binding senses, cognition, information processing, learning perception, REM sleep. Increased gamma waves in meditation. Beta waves. These are known as high-frequency, low-amplitude brain waves that are commonly observed while we are awake. They are involved in conscious thought, logical thinking, and tend to have a stimulating effect. Having the right amount of beta waves allows us to focus and complete school on work-based tasks easily. Having too much beta may lead us to experiencing excessive stress and or anxiety. The higher beta frequencies are associated with high levels of arousal. When you drink caffeine or have another stimulant, your beta activity will naturally increase. Think of these as being very fast brain waves that most people exhibit throughout the day in order to complete conscious tasks such as critical thinking, writing, reading, and socialization. We're heavily using beta waves right now. Okay, alpha. This frequency range bridges the gap between our conscious thinking and our subconscious mind. In other words, alpha is the frequency range between beta and theta. It helps us calm down when necessary and promotes feelings of deep relaxation. Beta is awake, theta is asleep. So it's kind of in between the two, floating out here. If we become stressed, a phenomenon called alpha blocking may occur, which involves excessive beta activity and very little alpha. Essentially, the beta waves block out the production of alpha because we become too aroused. The frequency range is 8 Hz to 12 Hz, moderate. I'm going to tell you right now that the human hearing range goes down to 20 Hz. That's critical. Look at this. That's a lower frequency than we can hear. Edited in after the fact. So the human hearing range normally is between 20 Hz and 20,000 Hz. Most of us cannot hear that high. But that's considered the human hearing range. Above that, it's too high. You can't hear it anymore. Below a certain range, it's a periodic thump. So it's really outside of the way the ear works and the vibration recreates things. The frequencies that we're talking about here in the brain are just really on the super low end of that or below that. So we need to introduce those frequencies into the brain when it's outside the human hearing range. We cannot hear that low of frequency. What it's going to sound like is popping or something like this. That would not be pleasant to listen to. So what we need to do is create some way of introducing that pulsation into the brain without that tapping sound. And that is what the binaural beat is going to be for. That very thing right there. We need to soften the sound of that pulsation, the beat. Down here we get the theta, 4 to 8 Hertz, very slow. That's like a rapid drum beat, 1/4 time. Okay, I'm going to not read through the rest of it. You can go, I'll post a link. You're welcome to go look at that. So kind of in a nutshell, what's going on then is, okay, so the brain is putting out all these different activity, or the brain waves all the time. And depending on what you're doing, one is going to take over and be more dominant. The rest of them are all there. What we're doing here in this case is you're taking a certain brain wave that you might be deficit in or one that you're trying to approach. Maybe you want to meditate, so you want to hit that alpha. So you want to go to a beat of 8 to 4 up to 12, something like that. You want to listen to something that is, what it's doing is generating the frequency that you want to be the most active brainwave. And the idea is that if the brain is hearing this, and if you're hearing this, that what it's doing is that it can help. It would be like holding something that's hot in proximity to something very cold to allow it to slowly cool it down, bathe it over. It's kind of like you're trying to introduce and increase a particular wave activity that is in the range of mental activity that you're seeking at that time. What I'm going to do real quick is just show you very quick with my phone. I'm going to generate a couple of tones and show you what they're doing and why it's called binaural. Binaural, bi, two, oral, ear, two channels, beat, boot, beat, 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 beat. We're looking for two frequencies mixed together to create a beat. And the way it's going to happen is we're going to create one frequency, record it. Then we're going to create another frequency that is very close to it, but not exactly right, just off a little bit. I'll sample that here. Then another one and another one. But then what we do is we take the two that are they're very close but slightly different, and we play them both at the same time. And what's happening if you ever heard an unsynchronized airplane engine, flying overhead or something, where you hear this whoa, 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 that's the sound of the engines going in and out of synchronization. And that's exactly what's happening here. We're creating two frequencies, and as they come into synchronization, they sound the same. But as they come out, you get that whoa, you get that pulsing sound. So let's go ahead and create that and just see really what they're doing. It's this simple. I'm just using my phone right here to record from an app, generating a 130 hertz tone. And I'm going to be stepping a few samples of that. Just listen how close they sound as I step. Okay, this is the 130. This is the 131. Can hardly tell, huh? Now, this is both of them at the same time. All right, I let that go long enough to hear some pulsing in there, some repeats. That's a very slow one right there. This time, listen to the 130 and the 132. That was the 130 and the 131 together. Now let's mix a 130 and a 132 and see what that sounds like when that beat happens. All right, now we'll mix 130 and 133. All right, I don't need to keep doing that. Everybody sees what's going on. That's pretty much it. The only other variation I might show you is when I started there at 130 hertz. That would be, I think, that's kind of the bass tone right there, and then you shift from that. You can have that bass tone be lower or higher. And, let me just try to vocally mimic that very quickly. It's faster than recording all this stuff. It could be like, whoa, 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 or whoa, 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 whoa. So it can be doing the pulsing with a different bass frequency, set of frequencies that are doing it. Typically, the 1 hertz steps that you have in a phone or something like this, that they're too broad. You can't get the fine tuning you need. You have to do something fractional. So the online source is going to be a much better one to use, which is very cool. This was just a very quick demonstration on how you do that, and how, that's it. It's just taking frequencies that don't quite align, but they're close, and playing them both at the same time. And when they're aligned, they sound the same, and when they're not, they don't. So you get that thump, 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 thump at the depending on how fast that happens. This may not be a great analogy, but think like interference pattern in the double slit experiment, only in the audible range. Of course, that's happening on a very small scale, and up here in the audible range, it's not quite that way. But basically, that's kind of what it is. We're listening as a wave pattern goes by that has an interference in it. And anyway, okay, so what I want to say from my own personal perspective, that I used it to help me meditate at a time when I was not very far along. I had a lot of work to do. A lot of upstairs issues had not been resolved, and people don't like to do that. They like to go, just do this or do that, and that's all taken care of. And if it works for them, that's fine. For me, it didn't. I had a lot of issues that didn't just go away because I wanted to feel better, or I did a couple of things but you can go to the guys where I'm going to post that link, go take a look and see the testimonials there. People that have got PTSD and things like that just thank them and swear that this has helped them get through things. And I have no doubt that that's the case. For whatever reason there is. The effectiveness of it, I can't say. That would take a different kind of analysis. I do know that when I focused on it, I was meditating at the time, and I was using the binaural sound itself that was down that low, or in some cases I might have something like this playing. These are CDs, so I used to have a CD, little boom box or something playing there. Life's a lot different now. Everything's through the headphones, Bluetooth and stuff. But yeah, it kind of helps maybe with a little bit of sensory deprivation, which is very nice. It shuts off everything and it kind of clears things out for you. I found it very effective. I find it helped me to focus. It helped me to see things better. I don't do it anymore today, but I also realized that my brain waves are doing whatever they normally do, and I don't have issues or anything like that. That I no longer have to focus on those things, that I know that for myself, I came from a childhood where I had to do a lot of forgiving and making amends and doing things like that. It was a hurtful place for me that I ended up having to realize I'm living through those memories, and I had to let those go, and I had to address those things. It was not a matter of just doing something like this. This was helpful. But for me, once I got all of that stuff resolved, and that was me, that's just my personal experience. There will be people that say you don't have to do that, and I will just say that they didn't have to, or they haven't done it. They might be making claims. I had to do it. It's a personal thing. How do you feel? Can you look at your past and go, whatever? Or do you go, no, this stuff hurts? If the stuff hurts, you have to resolve it. If it doesn't, you don't. It's a personal thing. So, quite honestly, I look at these procedures not as the end of the path, but as tools to use along the way. That, I'm not going to, There's a point where you're looking to have that third eye cleared. What is that? If your third eye is cleared, you're done. If it's not, you keep working on it. Mine always seems to have something in there. So, but again, personalities, brain types, what we hang on to, what our life experiences are going to be so different. We can only compare notes with procedures. We can't say that shouldn't bother you because that doesn't bother me. It's whatever bothers you. Yeah, it's personal. For me, there's a point where people say you have to let things go, and you do. That's another one of those things you say that doesn't mean anything. All right, I let it go. I let it go. How come I still hurt? How come it still happens? I let it go. I let it go. How come it still happens? There's something wrong. We haven't let it go. We only consciously want it to be gone. What the problem is that we have a memory and a perception, and if you go visit that, you're going to find yourself angry, you're going to find shame, you're going to find fear, you're going to find tears, you're going to find all kinds of things, and that's what's acting out. If you have that. If you don't have that, you don't have to get it. If you have it, you have to. It's personal. But it is effective, and I would recommend it. I actually will tell you that I don't listen to that anymore, but typically throughout the day as I'm at home and things like that, there's sounds around. It's not very much. What I like is listening to the sound of rain on a tent in a thunderstorm. I got a little bit of wind blowing in there. It's a recording that I have on my own channel that I listen to a lot because it for me in my life, I spent a lot of hours in a tent in rain listening to that pattern and feeling soothed at that time. So I have a lot of memory connected with that sound that brings me to a place that is very helpful for me. I just play that quite frequently. I play it as I sleep at night. I like the sounds of it. But it's just a soothing thing that doesn't have any story to it. There's no dialogue. There's nothing like that. It's just the sound of nature. And in a way that for me makes me feel very soothed and peaceful. That's going to be up to each person. People that go, I don't like tents. Sound doesn't like it at all. Might be something different. So it's really what comes from our past that we go with. That I'm getting off subject here, but the binaural beats, okay, yeah, that's what that is. And I would talk to a person the other day about that, and they said, yeah, why don't you make a video on that? I bet people would like to know that that's a good thing. Boy, it can be helpful. I want to say I think that we evolved with very simple lives, and we have so much going on today that we can't disconnect. Stuff like this is going to help you do something different. We don't need to see all that stuff. We didn't evolve seeing everything. There was disaster all over the place. You never knew about it. Shoving it in your face isn't going to help. If something happens to you, do you want the rest of the world to fret and stress and worry over it? I'm not talking about not having compassion or anything like that. I'm talking about being constantly caught up and focused on, oh my God, this is going on. Yeah. And you know what? You're living your life experiencing that if you keep focusing on that. But there are people that have been through things that are much more significant than mine. And I would say, yes, that's why it would work. That's what they're doing. The beats are there to try to induce the frequency in your brain to somehow, like maybe synchronize these beats. After a while, they're working together, kind of a thing or something like that. But then it probably depends what you're doing too. You don't want to listen to something really slow while you're trying to do something that's, while you're inventing or writing or doing something that requires a lot of high brain function. So, but if you need to relax and be peaceful or something like that, you're going to be looking for something that is lower, that's going to be down into the, I need to try to become peaceful. But it requires more study than what I'm laying out here. There's more to it. And there's channels that tell you things, but in a nutshell, this is how it works, and that's why. At the same time, I'm very cognizant of, we have to realize that when we're focusing on something like this, we're putting our mind to it as well. I don't know that you could take somebody that's really in a stressful, freaked out, I'm losing it kind of a, going through an experience at that time, and then just start playing some kind of binaural beat that's going to induce some kind of a brainwave difference in them. No, I think their attention needs to be involved in it. I think they have to want to do it. I think that it's going to be something it's not a magical process. It is a mental process. It is a focus. But you're not just playing the beat. You're playing the beat at the same time you're trying to focus on something. And that focus is always incredibly important. But the brainwave in this case also, we realize, okay, it's not just a focus on something, like I said earlier with the pineal gland, which is what it is. It regulates melatonin. It does not open or close to energy. Oh, yeah. That was never taught in Hinduism. You watch even modern gurus today, they're over here in the West making money like evangelicals. Okay, the pineal gland is not, that's okay. It's okay to believe that. In this case, however, there's brain waves that we can measure with the EEG, and we know that we can replicate that same frequency and put it in from an outside source. However, now, what is the problem with the imbalance? Is it chemical? Is it something that you have to be medicated for? Or is it something that is maybe held in the memory from experiences that are unresolved that we're living through? In my case, that was it. So my brainwave activity, I'm sure, must have been off. But as time went on and I kept doing things and kept trying things, and I began to realize I needed to somehow become free of my past, understand where I come from, become out something that was existing from my higher awareness and not through my memories. That all of a sudden, it's like my brainwave. I'm fine. I don't feel stressed throughout the day or things like that. Life is simpler for me. But for me, these things along the way were always viable aids. But in my own personal experience, and I want to stress that because there are other people that have different kind of things going on upstairs that may not be able to. There might be people that are all freaked out that had good childhoods. Or whatever the case may be. It really is up to the person. It's an individual path. It's what we hold in our perceptions. But once I resolved my perceptions from my memories and realized, I could be free of it, everything kind of worked out for me. That's not going to be the case for everyone. Also, and I cannot stress this enough, the material leads us to this process that I'm doing right here. That's what I'm doing. I'm not following the gurus out there. On some channel recently with somebody talking about, that there's nothing you have to look for. There's nothing you have to seek. The answer is you. And at some point you're like, these are, at some point, they're very repetitive, colorful platitudes almost. There's not much to them. They're so shallow. They're like, they're pretty little flowers, but they got no roots. They've been picked. They're going to die. It's pretty to say, but what do you do? What does that mean? I hurt. Oh, stop looking. Stop seeking. Doesn't Jesus say, seek and you will find, knock and it will be open? What are all these modern people telling you things like that? They don't know what to do. They know only part of it, that you're not supposed to look outward. So they tell you to stop looking. What they mean is stop looking outward, but start looking inward. You look, you seek, but the issues are here, not out there. I have had people tell me that there is no me. That there is no you. Well, then why don't I just, what? Poof, just be gone, disappear? What does that mean? I'm having a life experience here. I don't care what you call that. I am having a life experience. There is no you. Whew. We got a world of non-thinking gurus. It's so tough to watch that get so big. People saying things that are like, that's just so empty. And then people run around like flower children. Oh, this is so wonderful. You're the answer. You're the answer. Yeah, tell that to the lady with 3 kids that just got divorced and doesn't have a job. And she's about ready to be homeless and doesn't know what to do. Oh, you're the answer. You're the answer. Yeah, that's what happens when you don't have any issues, huh? That's not a very big look. That's a very selfish outlook, honestly, the way I see it. It works for you. It works in your group. Go for it. On a global scale, there's something bigger going on. Doesn't work for everybody. So, all right, binaural beats, that's what they're about, as far as I can tell. I'm sure there's more to it, but this is in its simplest form. This is how to explain it without people just telling you blabbery stuff. I've had people tell me there's no frequency changing going on. So, the frequency is the change of the beat coming from the changing of a frequency off of a fixed frequency. Yeah, there's frequency changing going on all the time. It can't work without that. So. Okay, see you in the next video.